I want to ask you just a really quick question about the K2. Did you have a look at the conference program yet?
I am not. Oh, somebody is speaking on K2, correct?
Tomorrow morning.
Okay.
And they're talking about MK4, how it's the Activator X. Didn't we talk though about how you think the Activator X that Weston Price spoke of, this super nutrient, was MK7?
Yeah. Well, so here's where people conflate it. Right?
Wait, let me tell me if this is right, because you told me that it's stupid really to take MK4 because your body makes MK4 out of MK7.
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to say?
Well, in part, yes,
Okay.
explaining that. So I would say if you're not taking any K2 at all, that's the dumbest thing. If you're taking MK4, it's better than not taking any K2.
Okay.
That to me is you can't argue with that logic because you're still getting some benefit from it, right? But ultimately, and the reason why maybe MK4 is the Activator X that we're talking about, because when you look in animal tissue and you look in fat, you'll find the K2 version as being MK4. But where did that MK4 come from in the animal? Right? Did the animal go and take an MK4 supplement? Did the cow eat another cow to get its MK4 or drink emu oil? No. The cow produced the MK4 from MK7 through fermentation. So MK7 is the biological control system for methaquinone. Right? It can be converted into MK4, it can be converted, then you have longer chain methaquinones, MK8, MK9, MK12, all of those seem to have some sort of physiological function as well. So getting this kind of spectrum of methaquinones is really where all of the research is, right? So the biggest studies on vitamin K2 in the world, the longest and biggest studies are all on MK7. And MK7 is converted to MK4 in your body. That's how the animal got it in there.
Your body converts what it needs to the MK4.
What it needs to MK4, exactly. Because there are parts of the body, for example, in the mitochondria, this is one of the areas where we do work, right? The mitochondria require MK7. It can't use MK4. It's a really important electron transporter in complex 2 in the mitochondria. And it increases ATP production. It even rescues dead and dying mitochondria in neuronal cells and muscle cells and all that. So it's the most powerful anti-aging compound there is. MK7 has been shown to improve insulin response in the pancreas. It reduces autoimmune risk by reducing IL-6 and other inflammatory compounds. None of that has been shown with MK4, but by itself, right? So the idea is that you're taking the major starting component of all these methaquinones, which is MK7, with some of the longer chain quinones in an MK7, which is MK8, 9, and 10. Then your body will convert those, depending on the tissue, to what it needs, right? And one of the problems with MK4 in the market as a supplement is they're all synthetic. There isn't a natural MK4 dietary supplement on the market. The problem with synthetic MK4 is that methaquinone, like many other organic molecules, are what we call chiral molecules, right? So they have chiral centers, these carbons that can have different geometry on the bonding, on the bonds that they have. And when you have different geometry, you can have what we call enantiomers. So not to get too deep into organic chemistry, but what that means is you can have a formula, like take a simple formula that people would know, H2O. It means there's one hydrogen and two oxygens, right? So that's the molecular formula. But you can have a molecular formula that is exactly the same, but structured in a different way. It's a mirror image of one another, like your two hands, right, are mirror images of one another, right? They don't overlap when you're looking at it directly in the same way. So they function differently. So the synthetic version of these methaquinones function differently than the natural versions. So I never recommend people taking synthetic vitamins because you just don't know what it's going to be doing in the body, right? So if you're taking an MK4 supplement, you are taking a synthetic supplement.
There is absolutely zero way to get MK4 naturally.
So then the
Except
other
in the
choice,
MK7, which then your body makes it naturally.
then it makes it out. Now
Okay.
the other side of that is okay. People will say, well, you can get it from emu oil and butter and things. Yes, you can. No doubt about that. That there's some MK4 in those oils and that butter, but how much?
Yeah.
Do we know how much is in there? Do you know how much you have to take to get the benefit? Are you taking a spoonful of it? Is that enough? Is there a study showing
there's no
that?
way
There's
to
no
know.
way of knowing. And
Yeah.
it's such an important nutrient that you can't slack on that. You know, it does so many things in the body, you cannot slack on that. So the Rotterdam study on MK7 shows over a 10-year period, just taking minimal amounts of MK7 reduces cardiovascular mortality by 50%. Right?
Wow.
Reduces all-cause mortality, meaning dying from any reason, by 25%. Right? People live about 7 years longer when they take MK7. Right? The Nurses' Health study in Japan showed a 90% reduction in hip fracture rates in women taking MK7. I mean, there's so many studies on it.
Yeah.
A recent study on MS, which is a neurodegenerative condition, showed that people with MS, when they compared them to age-matched cohorts, so individuals of the same age and sex who did not have MS, the people who had MS had 4 times lower MK7 levels in their body, right? MK7 studies have been done by Sarah Booth at USDA and what is the university she's with? Rutgers, maybe? I don't know. Can't remember. She's with the USDA and a university. And they show that MK7 reduces the risk for developing diabetes from prediabetes, right? They show it brings down interleukin-6, so it reduces your risk for autoimmune disease. All of these things with MK7. So if you end up with this mindset where you go, I'm only doing MK4, then you're missing all these other benefits. And why would you do that? There's no toxic level of MK7.
So that's what I have a question about. So I know that you told me before you cannot get too much K2. It's not going to harm you. But there are the cofactors in with this MK7, the K2 that you guys sell. So can you get too much of those cofactors?
Sure. You can probably get too much magnesium. You can get too much zinc. Those are the
Okay.
cofactors.
So how many is
But-
too many then for those?
So from the product you cannot. No,
Oh,
I mean in general in life,
right.
yes, you
Okay.
can definitely take too much zinc.
Yeah.
But the cofactors are in there small enough amounts where they
Okay.
really only are intended for the use by K2.
Okay.
So you can't overdose on magnesium and zinc by taking, let's say, 6 of the
Oh,
caps.
got it.
But we also know that, there's diminishing return in terms of, am I going to get a whole lot more return by going 5 times a dose? Probably not. So far, the pharmacokinetics show that when you get up to the 360 microgram level of MK7, you end up kind of saturating a lot of the carboxylation needs of the body.
Is that 2?
That's two
Okay.
a day. So you take it morning and evening with food, right?
Oh, you don't take 2 at once?
You can take 2 at once. It's better to take it morning and evening so you maintain high levels of MK7.
I did not know that.
So
Oh, that's right, because MK7 doesn't last as long.
No, MK7 lasts the longest.
That's the one that, okay,
Yeah.
it's MK4 that doesn't last as long.
MK4 has a very short half-life in the
Okay,
body.
yeah.
It's the more reactive version of vitamin K2. We don't absorb it very well into the system. We have very good transporters for MK7. You could see the pharmacokinetics showing that you can build MK levels in the blood by using MK7, which then, of course, is translated to MK4 where it's needed.
Right.
So the whole debate is a moot point to me completely
Yeah.
because there's loads of benefits that have been shown with MK7 that have not been shown with MK4. B, MK7 is converted to MK4 where needed in the body. And C, MK7, depending on the right one, it comes from fermentation. It's a natural product. And it's got other menaquinones in it, 8, 9, 10 to some degree, right? And those seem to also play an important role in the body. That's how the cow whose fat you're eating that has MK in it, that's how the cow got it. That's how the chicken got it, and that's why it's in the yolk. That's how the emu got it in the oil in the emu. They didn't take MK4, they got MK7 from fermentation, and it turned into MK4 in the body.
The natural way. It's
The
funny that
natural
we're
way.
talking about this again this year because this is exactly what you and I talked about last year. And then when I posted the video on YouTube, people were just going crazy.
And here's the thing, one more thing I'll say. If you want to take MK4, fine. There's no harm in doing that unless you're taking a synthetic one.
Yeah.
Then that's problematic in my view. But if you're taking it through butter or emu oil, whatever the natural source is, fine. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't take MK7.
Okay.
Why would you not do both if you're going to do it?
So what about kids? Should kids take K2? And why?
Yeah, so kids have 7 times the bone turnover than adults do. So in fact, they have a much higher need for methaquinone. Kids also have much more development going on in the brain, and we know that in the body, the highest natural concentration is in the brain, right? So the brain has a lot of energetic needs. Your brain, pound for pound, is the most energy demanding component of the body. And so your brain requires a lot of K27, especially because it uses it in the mitochondria of the neurons to increase ATP production and neurodevelopment, right? So from the neurodevelopment perspective, from the bone development perspective, kids really need MK7, and we know American kids have shitty diets, including my kids.
Yeah.
They're terrible at getting
your
them
kids
to eat
take
anything.
K2?
They do. They take their K2 and spores every day.
Like one in the morning, one at night?
Just one a day.
Oh, they take one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. All right, thank you so much, Karen. You answered all my questions
pleasure.
again.